The Chinese would attack us, for the most part at night, and they would. That's when they seemed to be at their what they considered to be at their best. They would be blowing their bugles and blowing their whistles and making all kinds of noise and coming up at us. And of course, they seemed to too at the same time have more ordnance than we did. We just didn't. We were not gun happy. In other words, we just didn't have that. A lot of ammo to be just firing at, things that we thought were enemy soldiers. Although we knew exactly who we were firing at, or we were told not to fire, because we just didn't have a lot of ordnance. We had enough to get through a situation, but not enough just to haphazardly fire off weapons. Whereas the Chinese seem to have plenty of ordnance. I mean, that was never a problem with them. They always have a lot of rounds, artillery rounds, mortar rounds to fire at us. But we were a little careful in returning fire and making sure that we're coming in on a group that is going to call for so much ordnance, and we had it to fire. Other than that, we just didn't fire. Unless you had them right in your sights and you had to fire. But there's a lot of things I do remember. I know at the same time, when they would come up, even when we were on outpost, they'd come up the hill, we had barbed wire all set out in front of our perimeter. And the next morning, after a firefight, we have to go out and clean up. Believe it or not, we'd have to go out and clean up the mess that was out in front of us. And we had bodies all over, hung up in barbed wire. And our commander made it a point that he wanted that field of fire cleared. We didn't want anybody out there hung up on wire. So we had to, go out and clear it up. They could see what we were doing. They had observation points too. They could see that we're pulling those bodies off the barbed wire. Occasionally we get some rounds, but for the most part, most of the action happened at night. That's when mostly the firefights. That's when they would attack us for the most part. During the day, yes, there were times when a lot of artillery would come in, mortars would come in on our position. You would almost think that they knew exactly where we were at any particular moment, because they would drop mortars in fairly close to where we were, and if we moved off, we'd get mortars in that position as well. So they pretty much had the whole area where we were, either on outpost or up on the main line of resistance. They knew pretty much where we were, and so you could get mortars coming in or shells coming in at any time. One situation where I had a bad situation, I thought it was pretty much the end for me. As a 60 Mortarman, I was bringing rounds up to our gun pit, and a round came in and killed the gunner. And at the same time, he took all the shrapnel in his back. I happened to be ready to jump in the hole with him. Just when this all happened, I was hit. The shock of the round, not hit with shrapnel, but the shock from the round coming in just picked me right up out of the hole and flipped me upside down. I come down on my head. And of course, we called a medic to take care of our gunner, and he was in pretty bad shape. I mean, he died later on. At that time, he looked real bad to me. I could hardly see him, because I had a concussion is what I had. But I remember initially seeing him throw his arms back like that, and which he must have taken a full load of the shrapnel in his back. But that round or another round came in and just picked me up right out of the hole and just flipped me right over. So a medic did come by. He took a quick look at me, and I wasn't bleeding. I was just in shock and had a concussion. And he wrapped my head in some kind of a bandage he had with him. And he said, "Keep this on." And later on, they took me back to a med station. I was back there for 2 or 3 days, and I was able to shake it off. I had a mild concussion is what it was. And I was sent back up to my company. When the round came in and blew me out of the hole, it actually lifted me up, and I came crashing back down, and I landed right on my right side. And that was the wallop that I got that really gave me the concussion. And I realized then I couldn't, my eyes were blurry. I couldn't see, actually. I didn't realize how bad it was at the time, though. And of course, was taken back to the med area, and they kept me back there I think I was back there for about a week, actually. And I had a mild concussion is what it was. But at the same time, my eye, and I told him too, I said, I can't see. And as I went on, I really want to make a big thing out of it because I was getting ready to be rotated. I was a young kid. I was afraid that if I say too much at this time, that I wasn't going to be able to be rotated home. I'd have to go on a hospital ship. So I kind of faked it, honestly. I just didn't want to say too much about it. But as time went on, the eye got worse. So, and I'm literally blind in my right eye from that incident. Even at that time when it happened, I knew my sight was gone because it just blew. The flash of the explosion, it just made my eye, lost it. And I landed on that side. So I'm not sure. I think the way I hit the ground, because I came down on this side with the helmet on, I crashed in the ground with the concussion and with the side of my face. And I think that had the effect on me, lose my vision at that time.